Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Book of Sean. Listen, I've gone rogue. I'm not in the studio. I'm on location. I'm in Ohio. And here we are, because I'm not leaving you. I don't care where I am. You and I, we're going to get together. We're going to do this every chance that we get. How about that, people? So listen, welcome to another chapter. We have a great show for you tonight. I have a wonderful guest. You're going to love her, okay? You're going to love her. She has a wonderful spirit, a great personality, and a great sense of humor. That's important. But an interesting dilemma that she has, okay? Part of that dilemma is she has a acute fear of public speaking. She just is thoroughly afraid of it. It really boggles her capacity in her mind to do it. And yet, a part of her needs to do it for the success of her life and her business. I'm going to see how much help and encouragement I can give her. We got some Ask Dr. Sean tonight, as always, and we got some great headlines for you. So settle in, people. We're about to have a good time. You ready for this? Let's do some headlines. So check this out. It is so good to hear that in North Carolina recently, a school board voted unanimously to approve an action plan after a reported mock slave auction took place in one of their schools. In a Facebook post, parent Ashley Palmer said that her son, who is Black, by the way, told her that some of his classmates were sold in a slave auction at the J.S. Waters School. Can you imagine that? Can you imagine coming home and your Black son tells you that some of his friends were sold into slavery at school? Allegedly, one of his friends was sold for $350, apparently. I just want this to settle in, okay? Because let me get this straight. So you all don't want us to teach critical race theory, but y'all can have slave auctions at schools, and that's supposed to be okay. I don't know what's going on in the world. This is why I do these headlines, just to bring the absurdity to you, because a steady diet of absurdity is sometimes good for the soul. What? So you can't teach. Now, first of all, critical race theory isn't taught in high school. It's not taught in middle school. It's not taught in elementary school. It is only taught at the law school level, and only in a few law schools, by the way, just to be clear about that. But you don't want any racial anything taught in schools, but you're letting people have slave auctions. This story is why you have to have a racial sensitivity, racial consciousness, and race studies in schools. Because without it, you end up subjecting people to slaves auctions, turning people into slave owners and to slaves. And neither one of them deserves to be either one of those things. It's ridiculous. Listen. First of all, why would you subject Black students to the absurdity and the indignities of a slave auction? But perhaps more importantly, why would you subject white students to this kind of racial grooming? Yeah, we think that grooming is what happens when you are being sexually or emotionally abused. But I want to submit to you tonight that when you have this kind of behavior going on, reinforcing a certain racial way of being in the world, it's a form of grooming. It's a form of grooming when you allow white kids, European people and their children to function in a way that is not accurate, that is not moral, that is not decent, and you impart in them or you impose upon them a way of being in the world that's ultimately going to get them socked in the face. Because I'm telling you, if I'm at the elementary school or if I'm in the school and they trying to have a slave auction, there's going to be a slave rebellion. There's going to be an insurrection that day. And I'm just socking people in the eye. And y'all know I'm a man of peace. I love Jesus. but that's where I turn into Peter. You get what I'm trying to say unto you? This is racial grooming. Whenever you put people in a position at the formative stages of their lives to make them believe that they are a certain thing that is not true, you groom them. Because bigots are not born, they are made. Racists are not born, they are made. A child has to be turned into a racist and a bigot and a white supremacist. And let me assure you that this is how you do it. You hear me? Subjecting children to the notion that they have the right and the credence to own other people, to sell other people, even if you're trying to make some sort of weird historical lesson, just to put them through the exercise is a form of racial grooming. So I really hope the school district in North Carolina does more than just come up with an action plan. Because if I was the head of the school district, somebody would be losing their job. And that ain't cancel culture. That's just common sense. Can't be selling people. All right, let's move on. You guys hear about this Russian lawmaker, the Russian lawmaker last week, apparently. Check this out. This is the most outlandish thing I've heard in a long time. A Russian lawmaker said last week that he wanted the United States to return Alaska to Russia and to pay reparations. The lawmaker went on to say that Russia was purchased by the United States in 1867. And also, apparently, there's a small little community in Northern California, 90 miles north of San Francisco, called Fort Ross. And that was also a Russian settlement. And this lawmaker has determined that the United States should give back Alaska and the settlement in California because they belong to Russia first. And according to him, the United States did not pay enough money, did not pay a fair price. So give them back. Because listen, if the United States wants to be on the Ukrainian side and starts, doing all these sanctions and all that, give us Alaska back, give us our little settlement in California. Now, this is insane on many levels, right? Because as soon as I said it, your insanity meter should have went up. This is fundamentally, this is deplorably insane. This is indelibly insane. And let me tell you why. This guy believes that Russia is the original owner of Alaska and parts of California. And he's under the impression that we should give Alaska back to the Russians. And we should give a little community in California back to the Russians. Like the Russians are the original owners of Alaska and California. I mean, he just skipped over all the indigenous people. But none of the indigenous people who owned it before and for whom the land is their actual home, oh no, they don't get nothing. Give it back to the Russians. So let me get this straight. If you steal something from somebody and then somebody steals it from you, you ain't a victim. You are not a victim if you have stolen something from somebody and then somebody steals it from you. You know what I'm saying? What you are is a criminal who got beat at your own game. That's all you are. And what you get is I don't know what you get, a pat on the back or I'm sorry, but you don't get reparations and you don't get Alaska and parts of California back. It's amazing. It's amazing to me. There is no honor among thieves. Somebody needs to tell this man this. There's no honor among thieves, and there is no such thing as a fair price for something that you stole. Can we just use common sense, people? Can we just use logic? How are you going to skip over the Eskimos and the indigenous people and think that Russia is the rightful owner of Alaska and parts of California? It just goes to show you what the European mind will come up with when left to its own devices and not in community and conversation with other people. I'm not down to Europeans. I'm just simply saying there's a history of colonization and there's a history of colonial thinking, of colonizing powers thinking that the places they colonize belong to them, as if the people who lived there originally have no stake and no claim over the places that they bury their dead and find their love. So if we're giving land back in Alaska and California, if we're giving it back to somebody, it's going to be to Eskimos and indigenous people, Native Americans, not the damn Russians. All right, let's move on. I wish I had my cards, I'd throw them at the camera. Let's talk about this story, okay? Because this is a story, people. I couldn't wait to talk about this one. So you guys hear that Chris Cuomo is suing CNN for $125 million. He has filed the arbitration case against the network. You all remember that he got in trouble with the network because he was helping his brother when his brother was dealing with sexual misconduct and assault allegations. His brother being Andrew Cuomo. Okay, that's Chris there and Andrew. They're brothers. Now, when this first happened, I was actually just hear me out. I was all for Chris helping his brother because I was thinking, I have a sister. I was thinking, does my sister or my brother, I would be helping them too. Then a friend of mine said something to me, which is why you need to listen to people who are wise. Okay, a friend of mine said something to me. Here's what he said. He said, "You're right. It's good to help your brother, but if you are a journalist, Chris Cuomo should have stepped away from the network and went and helped his brother. So not to create any sense of disloyalty or any sense of double dipping or whatever you might call it, right? Chris was wrong, according to my friend, not because he helped his brother, but because he insisted on being on the air and not stepping away. And I thought about it. And I realized, my friend, in my opinion anyway, I think my friend is right. And then I thought about it some more, because thinking is what I do. You know what I'm saying? I'm a thinker, people. Some people are lovers, some people are fighters. I'm a thinker. I thought about this some more. And here's what I came up with. Yes, it's true that Chris Cuomo should have stepped away from the network when he wanted to help his brother. But here's what's also true. His brother, Andrew Cuomo, should have said to Chris, don't get involved. Andrew Cuomo should have said to his little brother, I need you to keep your job. I need you to keep food on your family's table. I need you to keep a roof over your wife's head. I need your robes to be clean. I need your reputation to be intact when this is over. Let me fight my own battle and you take care of home. That's what should have happened. Chris Cuomo should have never been in this situation because his brother should have loved him enough to tell him, no, you cannot be involved in this. Not because I don't want your help, not because I don't need your help, but because I'm not willing to let you sacrifice your future for me. You know what I'm saying? And y'all know I'm right. Because there are people out there right now throwing your shoe and saying amen, because y'all know I'm right about this. I am 100% right. And nobody's going to tell me different. Andrew Cuomo should have protected his brother from his brother's loyalty to him. Listen, Andrew Cuomo was more concerned about saving his own ass than he was about loving his brother. And I've met Andrew Cuomo a few times, okay? He's not somebody that I've never met and don't know. I've met Andrew Cuomo a few times. And I can't say whether he committed sexual misconduct or sexual assault. I have no insight on that. I have no theory on that at all. But here's what I do know. Andrew Cuomo is selfish because a generous spirit would have protected his brother, not just himself. How you like them apples? All right, let me do my last one real quick. This is actually a sad story. And I don't often bring you sad stories, but this one I wanted to bring because it sort of speaks to the time that we find ourselves in. So last week in Hong Kong, there were 3 elderly people who took their lives. All of them were recently diagnosed with COVID, and they were all over the age of 70. And apparently there's an acute mental crisis affecting elderly people in Hong Kong. And in that particular city, which is a city in China, of course, elderly people are really dealing with the devastating after effects of depression and isolation, which are the results, of course, of the pandemic. And now we heard that 50 million people in China are again back in lockdown. I'm bringing you this story because I want you. I say it and I say it again because it's just important. People are really suffering. People are really going through it. And when you have the elders taking their own lives, I don't care if it's 3 or 30 or 300 or one is too many. But when you have the elders who have lived and seen all kinds of things and climbed mountains and gone down in the valleys, they've had to deal with all kinds of recriminations and evils. And when they are so depressed that they will take their lives, then we know for sure that people are suffering. People are suffering. And I know it's starting to feel like the pandemic is coming to an end. In some places, we think that it's over. And I get that. I'm glad about that. But that doesn't mean that people aren't still struggling and that people aren't still suffering. Depression is a journey. It's not a moment. You hear what I said? Depression is a journey. It's not a moment. And after the moment is over, despair, it lingers. It lingers like the smell of chicken in your clothes. Or here's a better example, like the smell of marijuana in your clothes. It lingers. And that's what we have to remember. Just because the event is ended doesn't mean that the trauma is over, because trauma is a time travel. So here's my last word to you. Check on the people you love. Check on the people you love. And I don't mean send them a text or send them a direct message. I mean, go old school and actually check on the people that you love. I mean, pick up the phone and call them. And if they don't sound healthy and good, if they don't sound like themselves, then go and see them. Don't FaceTime them. Don't go on Zoom. Go sit in the room with them. Check on the people that you love. Go, don't text. And when you get there, listen with your heart and not just your past and not just your ambitions, but listen with your heart. And if they don't sound good, if they don't look good, if you feel like something is off, if your intuition is telling you something is wrong, then connect them to help immediately. And if you're the person not feeling well, not doing good, not feeling your best, then let me be that for you. Get some help immediately, because there's no shame in saying that I'm not at my best. Because I promise you, if you keep going, if you keep living, your better days are still ahead of you. All right, people, I'm done with the headlines. When we come back, I'm talking to my dear sister, Chantrell. She is afraid of public speaking. But you guys know that I'm kind of good at that. She came to the right place. We'll be right back. Welcome back, everybody. So listen, what would you do if you had a fear that's sort of standing in the way of what you know yourself to be worthy of and what you know is a part of your mantle, your calling, maybe even your little ministry? I'm just saying, those of you, who know the word of prayer. What would you do if you had a fear that was getting in the way of that? Well, you don't have to wonder. I brought somebody on the show tonight, and that's exactly where she is. And fear is something we all deal with. My guest tonight is going to take us into it. Welcome to the show tonight, Chantrell Randall Edwards. Hello, Chantrell.
Hey, everybody. Hi, Dr. Sean. How are you?
I'm doing very well. Thank you for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
I could not think of a better person to have on.
Oh,
It was between you and Michelle Obama, and we chose you.
oh, cool. I like that. That's a compliment.
Yeah, I'm lying, but I wish I had those options. I would have still chosen you, but I'm just saying. So listen, let's get right into it, all right? Because I think you bring something to the table tonight that is so fascinating and interesting, because so many people on so many levels deal with fear. We all have fear. And anybody says that they don't, they're lying.
Right.
I know that your fear is related to public speaking. So here's my question. What happens to you when you are about to, or when you're giving a speech? Take me there.
Whenever I'm planning to give a speech, I get very excited in the beginning, but as soon as I hit the stage, like I freeze, I get anxiety, and my blood pressure raises. I remember one time, I threw a tea party and they asked me to talk about the health benefits of tea. But as soon as I got up, the whole room just started spinning and my blood pressure went through the roof. It started as a young adult. This didn't happen when I was a child. It started as a young adult. But yeah, I just get like really nervous and scared. I'm afraid I might say the wrong thing. I might pronounce something wrong. Yeah, I just get really nervous.
So when you are in the moment, what are you telling yourself? Like, what's running through your head?
What's running through my head, I always like pray before anything. And I just ask God to, give me the right words to say, please take away the spirit of fear. But something is just like trying to hold me back. Like, I can do this, I can do this, I can do this. But whenever I get up, I just can't.
Yeah. Well, I have so much empathy for that, because public speaking is a part of what I do. And I just had someone ask me the other day, do I get stage fright? Do I get nervous? My sons have asked me that before. And at this stage of my career, I don't actually get nervous. I don't actually get stage fright. But I do remember when I did. So you are taking me back to the 7th and 6th grade,
Right.
when I used to stutter. I used to stutter whenever I had to read publicly.
Right.
Because I was so intimidated by messing up the words.
Yes.
Is that what happens to you? Is the fear messing up?
I believe it's the fear of messing up. Like I don't want to get up and sound crazy or don't know what I'm talking about. Don't want to accidentally say Pacific instead of specific, things like that. Yeah, it's really scary. And I guess people assume because of me being married to a pastor that I automatically know and say and that I'm very good at public speaking.
Mm,
My role, I just really just be in the background and help him out, but he's the expert. And
mm,
so people automatically assume that I'm just, this great presenter, and I'm not.
mm. So I have a two-part question. Here's the first part. Um, you mentioned that this sort of came on when you were a young adult, right?
Yes.
Um, what happened? So when was the moment when you knew that this is problematic?
When I got married.
Say more, please.
So, like I said earlier, I'm married to a pastor, and I wasn't always married to a pastor. I didn't even the Lord. He got jokes. Um, I wasn't really like. I mean, I grew up in the church.
Okay,
Um,
Chantra, hold on.
uh,
Are you saying to me that prior to being married to your wonderful pastor husband, that you didn't have this fear?
no, I guess because I never had to really like get on stage and speak in front of this big crowd.
Okay, stop for a second because this is a great conversation, people. You just trust me, this is great. Okay, here's why. Here's the other part of my compound question, and it's this: have you always felt like you needed to be good, right, accurate, smart, appropriate?
Well, for church or just period?
Just and how you grew up, how you were raised. Has that been your story?
No, I didn't feel like that growing up. I come from a good family, a good background. Grew up in rough neighborhoods in Oakland.
So hold on.
Um,
So there was no pressure put on you
no pressure put on me
to be good, to be
to be
perfect, to none of that. Okay.
right.
So this sense of being exact and right and appropriate came when you married a pastor.
Yes,
I shouldn't be laughing, but it's kind of it's interesting, don't you think?
yes. Like I used to look at like other first ladies and look at how they
Yes.
dress and how they talk, and I like, am I supposed to be like that? 'Cause, I
Mm,
never married a pastor. And my husband like, babe, just be yourself. Like I'm the type of person people say I should get into comedy because I'm always laughing. I'm very outgoing. I'm very outspoken.
you are, yeah, you
Um,
are.
they say I'm the comedian of the family. I have great energy, but as soon as I get up to talk in front of a big crowd, everything just goes out the window.
Yeah. I heard that something very dramatic happened once when you got up to speak in front of the congregation. Would you mind telling you told my producers the story. Would you mind telling everybody the story?
Oh yeah, I think I just told you how I got up to speak in front of a group of women at the tea party, and the room started spinning. My blood pressure raised. They even had to call the ambulance because I was about to pass out, and they just said my blood pressure was like just too high for me to even like drive home. So yeah, that's what happened. I got up and the whole room just started spinning. Like
So
I
did you,
literally was about to pass out.
did you pass out?
Almost.
And
Not
all of
quite.
this and all of this from the fear of speaking.
Yes.
Okay. Woo.
But earlier this year, I told myself, I was like, you know what? I've missed out on too many opportunities because of fear. Public speaking opportunities. I take that back because of
Yeah.
fear. And I told myself, I'm going to stop doing that. I'm just going to trust and believe that I can do it. I made a promise to myself, to my husband, to God, And as soon as I made that promise, doors just started opening.
Mm.
Like
Mm.
I've been on podcasts, um, panels,
Mm-hmm.
um, speaking engagements. Just a lot of doors just started opening as soon as I told myself, stop being scared and just try to do it.
Mm. Okay, but you know what? Let me give you some advice because you gave yourself the wrong advice.
Okay.
And here's why. Because as I listen to you, and we're gonna take a break after this, but as I listen to you, I think the thing you most need to tell yourself is not to care about what people think about what's coming out of your mouth.
Okay.
That your concern should be for the fact that it comes out of your heart, as long as your intentions are good, right? So
Yes.
you're married to a pastor, and so you know the word, you know faith. So Solomon said of David, Solomon said, "It was in my father's heart to build the temple, therefore it was well with the Lord." Meaning, all God wanted from David was that he wanted to do.
Right.
And I'm saying to you that the thing you most need to tell yourself isn't don't be scared, because that's only gonna work for a little while, by the way. When the crowd gets bigger, you gonna be scared. Trust me. No, no,
Right.
no. The thing to tell yourself is, I come to this moment from a good place. I stand here today because there's something that I need to say, something I've been born to say. I am afraid.
Yes.
I do feel the fear, but what I have to offer is greater than the fear that's trying to convince me not to say it.
Yes.
That's the thing we need to tell ourselves over and over again. And most of all, and we'll take a break after this, is to not care if you mess up, to
Right.
not care if it doesn't come out perfectly, if people don't hear it the way you meant to say it, if you say one word when you meant to say. You know how many mistakes I make speaking? I
Yes.
make mistakes. Every show I make a mistake. And I keep on going because I know that what's coming out of me is coming from a place of goodness, a place
Mhm.
of love, a place of compassion. And that's my assignment. My assignment is not to be perfect. My assignment is to be authentic and good.
Yes.
So listen, let's take a break. Let's take a break. And when we come back, I got some more questions because I want to ask about your business, how this has affected your business. Okay. And I
Okay.
also want to we're gonna have a little fun. I'm gonna do a little something with you. Okay. All right.
Okay.
Is
Okay.
that all right? Is that all
That's all
right?
right with me.
Welcome back, everybody. So I'm talking to Chantrell Edwards. Listen, so when we took our break, I was trying to just pour into your spirit, into your life, a different set of things to sort of say to yourself. But I want to come back to something because during the break, you and I were talking and just having good conversation as well. And you mentioned the church, and I just cannot get away from the notion that the church scenario is really the impediment. It's the stumbling block. Talk to me about your apprehensions. And just to be clear, we're not talking about your church. We're not talking about any particular church, just church culture. What is it about church culture that sort of unsettles you the way it does?
Hmm. I gotta be careful. Um, so I would say like some of my experiences with church, not the church that I attend now, but like in the past, just how people treat each other.
Mm,
Um, it's it I'm speechless because the church that I grew up in, I didn't see that, growing up.
mm,
I just saw, I had to be at church. If I didn't go to church any other Sunday, I had to be at church on first Sundays to take communion. I would have to get involved. That's the stuff I grew up with my parents. But as I got older and attended different churches, I just saw how people like really, really mean and talking about each other, fighting each other in the church. Everybody want to get with the pastor. The pastor be embarrassing people over the pulpit, and everybody know who he talking about. Like that was just like shocking. So I think seeing all that kind of just left a sour taste in my mouth.
Mm. Well, can I see your point and raise you a point? And here it
Okay.
is. You've been traumatized. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what I'm hearing. You've been traumatized. So when I say that, what do you feel? What comes up when I say that?
I'm going to give you an example. So before my husband became a pastor, we attended a church, and I was in training to be a deaconess, and I took all these classes. I took all these classes to become a deaconess, and I remember standing in front of the church and the whole congregation, and I actually skipped my grandfather's funeral to get ordained as a deaconess. So I remember standing in front of the church, and the pastor said, "You're not going to get ordained today because you missed two classes," in front of the whole congregation.
Wow, wow. And what did you think and feel in that moment?
At that moment, I was hurt. First, because I thought I was going to get ordained. Second, I missed my grandfather's funeral so I could stay back to get ordained. Like, I could have flew out to Texas to be with my family at an important time in my life. And for that pastor to humiliate me in front of the whole congregation, I don't think I was ever the same. The suit I wore that day, I've never worn it again
Mm,
because it took me back to me being humiliated in front of the church.
yeah,
It was two
yeah.
other women there that didn't get ordained because they missed a couple of classes.
Mm.
So
That's trauma.
I was traumatized.
Yeah, that's trauma. I mean, that's textbook trauma. So much so that even the story about not being able to wear the suit again, that's textbook trauma. And pain associated. I mean, that wow, my heart really goes out. I mean, listen, I've been in ministry, and I know church. I know all of that, and I know how church can be. I know how
Mm-hmm.
wonderful it can be, how
Mm-hmm.
inspiring, how edifying it can be, and how loathsome and terrible and petty and negative and judgmental it can be. And
Very judgmental.
but I kind of feel I need the obligation to say this, just to apologize to you
Yeah.
on behalf of the church, because I've been a leader in ministry. So on behalf of all of us, I'm sorry that
Yeah.
you were treated that way. I'm sorry that we didn't protect you. I'm sorry that we didn't realize that you sacrificed being with your family to bury your grandfather. And we treated that like it was nothing because you missed the class. Of course, nothing could be more important than one of our classes.
Right.
I'm sorry. When I say that, how does that strike you?
Um, I mean, you don't. I understand where you're coming from, but it was just at that time that specific pastor, he loved to have control over everybody.
Mm,
I just seen like some of the things that my husband went through.
yeah,
Um,
yeah. Well, you know what? Because let's do this. What I'm the association. The reason we're talking about this is not really
mhm.
just the bad bash church, although I have no problems doing that. Just to be clear, it's because it's directly connected to what your fear is.
Yeah,
And your fear is that you're going to be judged, you're going to be condemned, you're going to be ostracized, you're going to be all the things that we do in church to people that we probably shouldn't do. That's why you have this fear. It's not to me it's not like when you first came on, I wasn't sure if you had some sort of some sort of psychosis as it relates to fear, some overreaction to the moment. You know what I'm saying? But the more I listen to you, the more I realize that this is a unique response to a unique set of conditions. And what I'm going to say to you is that I know your husband's a pastor, but I do think you should talk to someone on an ongoing basis to really work through that trauma, to unpack what they did to you, because they did something to you and it hurt and it affected you. And the other thing that I want you to have liberation on, or liberation from, is the need to impress these people, is the need to compare yourselves to other first ladies, or the need even to have them understand and accept or embrace you. So my prayer for you is going to be that you find courage, radical, absolute courage, not the courage to speak, but the courage to be at home in yourself and to know that your intentions in your heart, that's good enough. And that if you offer people the best of what you have to bring, even if you don't bring it perfectly, people will receive it because they will receive the intention and the spirit. It's not the words. It's not the words that liberate people. It's the spirit of the speaker. You follow what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I'll give you this story. So when I was very intimidated about public speaking and very intimidated about doing it, and really would stutter whenever I had to read or speak in public. And the thing that got me over it is I started telling myself a different story. So the story that I used to tell myself was, oh my God, what if I mess up reading? What if I don't know the words? Right. What if I forget how to read in the middle of the sentence and they think I'm an idiot? Right. For some reason, I started telling myself, what if I knock this out the park? What if I'm the best reader in this class?
Right.
What if I'm the smartest kid in this school? Shouldn't everybody know that? And it's just that little tweak of telling myself a different story that liberated me from the bondage of caring about what other people think. And that's my prayer for you, is that you start to tell yourself a very different story.
Yeah.
Yeah. When I say that real quick, how does that strike you?
I agree with you. I have to stop worrying about what other people think. And it's crazy because I was never like that. I didn't care what people thought about me. But as I've gotten older, I started caring a little bit what people thought about, me and how I speak, and also I could be a little rough around the edges. So,
well, listen, that works. I mean, it actually works in public presentation. I know I got to take this break, but let me just say this real quick to you. It's not that before you didn't care about what people thought about you. It's that before the people you cared about had not hurt you yet. And when the people who you care about hurt you, that's when you do start caring, because you start wondering, well, what's wrong with me? What did I do wrong? That you didn't care about me and love me the way you love so-and-so and so-and-so.
Yeah.
That's what you've gone through.
Yes.
And I'm saying to you that you are grown enough now, you are strong enough now, you are wise enough now to know that you've been hurt, but to also know that you are bigger than what they did to you.
Yes.
Yeah.
I agree.
All right, my work is done. I got to take this break. Thank you for coming on tonight. I appreciate you.
Thank you.
No, I believe in you. And the next time you speak at Woman Thou Art Loose, and the next time you speak at I said it. The next time you speak at Mega Fest, there you go. Next time you do your women's conference and you speak to 3,000 women, invite me, because I'm coming, because I want to see this. All right. I believe in you.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
My pleasure. Listen, everybody, we got to take this break. When we come back, we'll do some Ask Dr. Sean people. We'll be right back. Back, everybody. So let's do some Ask Dr. Sean people, because I feel like giving some advice. You guys always send me amazing videos and questions, and thank you for all that you send. We don't get to all of them, but the ones we do get to, we love. So play the video.
Miss Asia Lenore. I am from Dallas, Texas, and I have recently started to dive back into the dating pool after a 4-year relationship. The issue that I'm facing is the guy that I'm currently dating is financially unstable. So my question would be, should I break up with him due to that reason and move forward with someone else? Or should I try to stick it out and see if his finances improve and he learn how to manage his money and budget his money the proper way?
What? Okay. Thank you for the question. I'm just a little confused as it relates to the role financial management plays in the procurement of a lasting relationship. Now, if you were getting married, you know what I'm saying, then I would, yeah, then he probably needs to be a better financial manager so that the two of you can manage the house together. But you're dating. You're just dating him. And I would wager to think, or I hope that it would be the case, that you would have a long list of other things that would be far more indelible and important to you as it relates to who you might bring into your life. If a person, so from your question, what I gathered from your question is that in every other way, the guy is great. This is the one issue that he doesn't do well is financial management. That's a reason not to date him. That's a reason not to, experience the best parts of who he is. If he does 90%, if 90% of the time he's exactly what you want him to be, and then in this one area, 10% of the time he's not, does that cancel the other 90%? Does this one thing cancel all the other things that he actually does well? And all the ways outside of money he makes you feel? So what I'm wondering is the kind of priority that you place on money. What concerns me is the kind of emphasis that you're making finances in the procurement and the production and the building of a relationship. Now, I'm not naive, and I understand that money is a part of life, and you got to have money to eat, pay the rent, have a roof over your head, and a bed under your butt. I get that. But you will never, ever find me, ever, ever, never, ever, never, in no way finding me telling anybody at the end of the day, money is the baseline for how you make a decision of who you should spend your life with. Because let me give you a scenario. What if he was worth $134 million? He had all the money that you needed and all the bills were paid. He had 19 cars and 4 homes, and he could buy you whatever it is you wanted to have. But he didn't have empathy. And he could care less about how you feel or felt. He could care less about your past and is not interested in anything that your vision. He was just a provider. He had money. I'll give him money and good sex. Would that be enough for you? To be with someone who knew how to throw it down in the bedroom and pay the bills, but could care less about anything else about you? I hope for your sake that you would not want to be in that kind of situation, because that is a situation that nobody in their good sense and right mind should want to be in. I'm not trying to make up for anything that he's not good at. Of course, he needs to get better at managing money. And why don't you help him do that? Why don't you inspire him and encourage him to get financial literacy? Surround him with other men, other Black men. I'm assuming he's Black. He may not be, but whatever he is, surround him with other men who are already on the road to being competent and capable as it relates to money. My advice to you is to encourage him in the direction that you want him to be and grow and do, and not use it as something that undermines a relationship that might be a good relationship, although I'm not entirely sure if it will be good, because I'm still concerned about your emphasis on money. Great at everything else, but not good at money. So should I be with him? Let's take a break. We're back. We'll ask Dr. Sean after this. Welcome back, everybody. So always, great videos, great questions you guys send me. And so we got some more for you. Let's watch our next video right now.
Dr. Sean, this is Jason from Wisconsin. My partner and I have been dating for a while. They are now saying that they want children. Initially, we agreed about not having children. Do you think this will be a deal breaker for us?
Okay. Well, let me just admit right away that you haven't given me enough information to sort of be able to answer your question directly. But I can speak to it generally in this sense. People don't just come to deal breakers right away. Even when they say that they do, they really don't. People build toward a deal breaker scenario, okay? And if you're in a situation where children are not being able to have children or bring children into your family, might be a deal breaker scenario for you. It tells me that there are other things going on that empowers the child issue or the childlessness issue to be so traumatic for the relationship. My advice to you would be try to figure out what's going on more generally, because healthy couples, when they have challenges, don't tear apart. Healthy couples, when they have challenges, lean on each other. They understand that I may not get what I want when I want it or the way I want it, but as long as I finish this race with you, I will be okay. And if you're dealing with a challenge that is seemingly about to tear things apart, it's because they were already fracturing. They were already tearing. The fissures and the tears may have been small, but I promise you they were already there. I'm always going to advise people when they ask me a question like this to make sure that they get, ongoing professional counseling and help and therapy, because you need a outside person to help you have a difficult conversation with the one that you love. And I know that disappointment can be very real when people can't have children or can't bring children into the situation, and it can be devastating. I understand that. But a challenge doesn't have to tear things apart necessarily. Disappointment does not have to destroy a relationship necessarily. They're not syllogisms, meaning if you get this, you got to have that. If we can't have a kid, we got to break up. If we have a disappointment, we can't stay together. Then those things are not syllogistic. You can have disappointment and keep your relationship. And I think the two of you need to figure out how to do that. Here's what I tell couples all the time, and then I'll do my last question. Whenever you get together with someone and you're about to get really serious, like bring children into the scenario or get married or whatever, or buy property, go to the worst case scenario. Talk about the worst case scenario. Talk about what if we lose the house? Talk about what if we can't have kids? Talk about what if something happens to one of us in terms of health. Have those conversations with people so that at least you've created the grounds for you to have some kind of blueprint to work through it. I wish both of you well. And I know wanting a kid and having a kid can be a wonderful thing. I was blessed to have sons, and it is a blessing to have them. But I also understand that even if you can't have children the way you think or the way you want to have them, that you can still give love to children and you can still be supportive of them. And even if none of that happens, you can still have love. And sometimes we don't get to define or decide where that love comes from. Anyway, good luck with that. All right, somebody emailed me a question. I'm going to read it to you right now. Here it is. My friend lost her mother 6 months ago. And since that time, I've become her therapist and her personal assistant. She calls me constantly to vent about her life, and I'm constantly running errands for her. I understand that she's in mourning, but I feel like she's taking advantage of me. How can I talk to her about how I feel without hurting her feelings? Great question, by the way. Both of these questions are actually great. This is difficult because people find themselves in this situation a lot, where you have one friend that's going through something and you want to support your friend, but they're kind of taking it a little overboard, right? They're sort of taxing your capacity to love and understand and support. I get it. And you don't want to say something because they're already in grief and in mourning, and you don't want to compound that with confrontation, consternation, and problems. I totally understand. But in as much as you love your friend, you also got to love yourself. Because if you start hating yourself, the love for your friend will be tainted by how you feel about, wait for it, yourself. So you owe it to yourself to sort of make sure that you're in a good place when you deal with your friend, because that energy that you feel that's not proper and in place, it's going to spill out in that relationship. And the resentment that's building up, it's going to manifest itself in your interactions with your friend. I promise you that. Been there, done that, got the t-shirt and the mug and a hat. I'm telling you it's going to happen. Here's my advice. My advice is before you try to have a conversation with your friend, have a conversation with yourself about what you're really feeling and why you're really feeling it, and about why you have not set better boundaries. Even in grief, even in need, people still need to have boundaries. In fact, when people are most in need is when you most need to be able to give them boundaries about what you will and won't do. So here's how you have the conversation. You begin the conversation with declaring your love and support. You begin the conversation by declaring your understanding of the scenario, but you also, in that conversation, make it clear that what you're able to do and what you want to do are not the same thing. That you want to do the moon. You want to give her the moon. You want to do everything. You want to be there for her 100%. That's what your heart wants. So what you're capable of is something far less than that. I'm just saying. Thank you for tuning in, everybody. Thank you for watching. Thank you, Chantrell, for being here. Listen, trauma is real, people. I will see you soon. Next time, I'll be back in the studio, people. Y'all be good to each other. I mean, really good to each other. And remember, I love you. How about that?